Hello, this is Allison Church again. I hope you're having a good day. I thought today that since we've gotten to know each other so well, that I should tell you probably about one of the most disturbing episodes of my young life. As I said, I knew when I was 14, probably even 15, that I was different. I started to gravitate toward the female side of the street, so to speak. Well, I was a rather enterprising little secret person. So I would go to the stores and I would buy bras and panties and all that, saying that I was buying them for my sisters because they were too embarrassed to go do it. Or I would, go up to the local Avon lady and I would tell her that I'm buying some gifts for my mom or something like that for Christmas or something. In truth, I was doing it all for me. I used to hide away in my room late at night, like an Edgar Allan Poe story. And I would lock the door, close all the windows, and I would experiment with what back then I didn't truly understand. They didn't have a word for who I am back then. The closest they came to it was crossdresser or transvestite. And for the longest time, I avoided being who I was because there was a stigmata in my early family culture that made the terms crossdresser or transvestite very repugnant. And my apologies to people I just insulted. It's not meant to be. Well, I was terrible at putting on makeup. I'm not that great now, but compared to then, I'm Mona Lisa right now. Okay. Well, I would put on makeup. And I remember once I even got like an old nappy blonde wig. Ugh. French poodles look better after a rain. But I would put it on and I would put on this makeup. I would put on my undergarments, stuff them with toilet paper. I mean, who didn't? And I would prance around the room and imagine. Back then, oh God, it was a very liberating, secretive, and double-edged sword kind of thing. And one night I paid for it dearly. In my haste to go and explore my secret femininity one night, I neglected to lock my door. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, so I could explore all I want and not have to worry about getting up, oh my God, in the morning to catch the bus and go to school. Well, I got in my full feminine regalia, and still interested in women, I kind of liberated one of my father's old Playboys. And I started exploring life's possibilities. And then right around 3:15, 3:17, I'll never forget that time. It's somewhere in that window. My father heard stuff going on in my room. I was probably giggling or something like that. And he opened the door. So there I was, on the bed, dressed in the most terrible gunny sack dress that I ever seen. Full makeup, boobs pointed out as far as the toilet paper would make them fall out. And he caught me, dressed like that, on the bed, masturbating, looking at a Playboy. I had never been so damn frightened or startled in my life. Humiliation was not a word for it. It was like, I don't know, it was the innermost sanctum of who I am being exposed like St. Francis to the natives, totally naked, but with a dress on. Instantly, the playboy scattered and went down to the floor. My dad stood there for what seemed a silent eternity. Then he said, "What the bleeping bleep is this?" I couldn't talk. I was totally... I had that deer in the headlight look, I'm sure. He came into the room. I must have still had my hand on my nom-nom parts because he slapped it off. And I shook and trembled like a wet puppy in the cold. He then grabbed me right here, pulled me up. I think I got off the back part. My back was raised off the bed about a foot and a half. And he yelled at me again. "What the bleeping frack is this that I am seeing?" And I don't know what did it. There must have been some kind of bravado or rush from me dressing up, the way that I've always wanted to be. But I looked him in the eye and I said, "Dad, I want to be a girl." Now, this was shattering to my father, and it's probably one of the reasons why I've already confessed that my father would not like what I'm going through right now. And frankly, he probably would have killed me. He came close to it that night. He dropped me, stepped back, and I'm sure that his entire world, his vision for his son and all that, imploded in a second. And I'm sorry for the harshness of the words that I'm saying here, but he looked at me and he said, "Are you a fucking faggot?" I swallowed and my bravery instantly disappeared. And I looked at him and I said, "No, Dad, I still like girls. I want to be a girl and I like girls." Then I hadn't picked out a name for myself yet. I'll tell you a story about how that came about one day. I felt like there was someone trying to tear out of my neck, like Alien or something like that. Because I saw my dad's hands go down, take off his belt, and he wrapped it around his hand and pulled on it. I could hear the creaking and the tightening of the leather on his belt. Never have I heard anything more terrifying. Well, he threw me across the room, off the bed. After I bounced off the wall, I looked at him and I pleaded, "Dad, please don't do this." He did. He beat me within an inch of my life. I was so bruised and battered that my mom had to call into the school and tell them that I had a very bad flu. I did not go back for 2 weeks. And when I did go back, the bruises were so healed and so light that I could say something like, and I remember saying this, I told people I was a muddlehead and I wasn't watching where I was going with my bike and I hit a curb and fell off. This was back in the day when people did not turn in their parents for being abusive. And I have come since to believe that it was a mistake not to turn him in. He had his own demons that he dealt with, and sometimes he would inflict his hauntings on both me and my sisters. It was an experience that kept me from coming out as Allison for several decades. And I never again dared to do what I do now or what I did then while living under his roof. He never brought it up again. And as far as I know, he never told or discussed it with like brother-in-laws and his friends or something. I don't think he did, because it would never come back to me. Some of the friends he had were not the kind to be discreet. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that every single one of us who have had demons who've tried to keep us from becoming who we are, or people who judge us for, why didn't you do this 20 years ago? Believe me, I wish I had. But sometimes even the people who smile a lot have scar tissue. And I had a lot of scar tissue, most of it inflicted by my father. That's also not to say I didn't hate my father. I loved my father. But rarely did I respect him. If there was any regret that I have, besides not doing this 20 years ago, I regret the fact that my father never told me that he was proud of me. Ever. That's something very important. You have to say that to your children. Even if they poo-poo it and roll their eyes, you have to say that. Because there's nobody in this life more than your parents or your siblings that you want to hear these words from. I had a not so good or idealistic childhood, and most of it was because of the battle that I waged within my own mind of who I was, what I wanted to be, and my social identity. None of these things are easily obtainable. I don't even think that even the richest pop star or popular artist or actor can even get this that easily. It takes time, it takes practice, trial and error, sometimes horrific or humiliating mistakes, and sometimes a miracle or two. Yeah, I do believe in miracles. Each one of us is one. So, that, by far, was probably the most frightening and self-evolving incident I had that helped me one day to become Allison, a transgendered woman. And I sincerely pray that none of you ever have to go through something like that. Well, I will be gone for 3 days. I have to work this weekend. Joy. So I will talk to you again in 3 days. Hopefully, I will have good things to say. In the meantime, I thank you all dearly for the kindness and support that you give me. Sometimes it helps me through the day. Be good to yourself. Be kind. Be happy. I'm Allison Church, and this has been Allison Through the Looking Glass. Until next time, be good to yourself. Bye-bye.